Some stories begin with thunder and loud shouting, but this one begins with a very quiet sound in the middle of the night. It was the soft, nervous sound of tiny feet moving under the kitchen cabinet, and the house cat, Milo, heard it first. He lifted his head from the warm rug, his golden eyes glowing gently in the low light, while the refrigerator hummed like a slow song in the background. Again the sound came, tap, tap, pause, tap, and Milo walked slowly toward the cabinet, curious but calm. Behind the cabinet, a tiny gray rat named Luna was shaking. She had been walking all day looking for crumbs to feed her little brother, who waited for her in an old broken pipe where they lived. She was not bad, not dangerous, only scared and hungry, and she whispered to herself that she needed just one crumb. Then she looked up and saw two glowing eyes watching her. A cat, Milo. Her heart almost stopped because every story she had ever heard said cats hate rats and always attack. She waited for claws and pain, but instead Milo remembered when he was once cold, lost, and rescued by a kind old woman. He blinked slowly, showing peace, and gently stepped back. Luna hesitated, then moved forward, took a crumb, and waited. Nothing happened. She took another, then quietly whispered, "Thank you." Milo bowed his head softly as if he understood. Night after night, Luna came back. Sometimes she shared seeds, sometimes Milo saved crumbs, and sometimes they simply sat together in quiet peace. But one evening a trap snapped shut beside the wall and Luna almost stepped into it. Milo rushed forward and blocked the trap with his body, guiding her away like a guard. Luna was shocked and asked why he helped. Milo could not speak with words, but his eyes said the truth. Life is precious, kindness matters, and enemies are not always real. Luna went back to her brother smiling because, for the first time, she felt safe. Rain began to fall softly outside. Milo slept calmly near the cabinet, not as a hunter, but as a guardian, and slowly, something gentle grew between them, real friendship. And so the night rested quietly, peaceful and still. The next morning, sunlight entered through the kitchen window and warmed the floor while Milo stretched slowly and waited, because Luna had promised to return. Time passed, the house filled with breakfast smells, but she did not come. Outside, construction workers broke the street and many rats lost their homes. Deep inside one damaged tunnel, Luna and her little brother were trapped as cold water slowly rose around them. Luna promised she would find a way, even though she was afraid. Meanwhile, Milo sat by the back door with an uneasy feeling in his chest until he heard a faint cry. He followed the sound outside and found a small crack in the broken concrete. When he looked down, he saw Luna's frightened eyes. He meowed loudly, pawed at the ground, and then ran into the house, jumping on the table so hard that a spoon fell. The human boy, Arif, understood something was wrong and followed Milo outside. When Arif knelt by the broken sidewalk, he heard the tiny squeaks for help and immediately called his father. They carefully opened the concrete, reached inside, and lifted Luna and her brother out, wet and shaking but alive. Milo stayed close, watching to make sure they were safe. Arif wrapped the small animals in a towel, gave them crumbs, and gently placed them near the garden so they could return to a safer place. Before leaving, Luna touched her tiny nose to Milo's paw in gratitude, and Milo blinked slowly, the deepest thank you a cat can give. Days passed and the trap was removed because Arif's father realized animals usually come only when they are hungry. He placed food outside instead, and the yard slowly became a peaceful place where birds, squirrels, the little rats, and Milo could share space without fear. Sitting on the steps, Arif whispered that maybe nature can also learn kindness. The sun went down, the sky turned warm and soft, and everything grew quiet again. Milo rested calmly, Luna cleaned her whiskers, and the world felt lighter because sometimes the bravest thing anyone can do is choose to care. And that is enough when friendship changed the whole house. Time moved softly after the rescue. Days turned into weeks, and life around the house slowly found a new rhythm. Milo spent more time near the garden now, sitting in the warm sunlight, listening to birds and feeling the gentle wind on his whiskers. Luna had built a safer little home under the bushes with her brother, using dry leaves and soft threads she found near the fence. Even though they lived outside, they never felt alone anymore. One afternoon, dark clouds gathered in the sky. The air grew heavy and quiet before the storm. Arif's mother hurried to bring laundry inside, and the wind began to rise. Soon the rain came down hard, fast, and cold, flooding small corners of the yard. Luna ran out of her nest, trying to move her brother to higher ground, but the water came too quickly. She slipped, frightened, and called out, hoping someone would hear. Inside, Milo looked toward the window and saw the shaking bushes and moving water. He felt that same tight feeling in his chest again, the feeling that something small needed help. Without hesitation, he ran outside, letting the rain soak into his fur. He followed the sound until he saw Luna struggling and her brother crying. Carefully, Milo lowered himself, allowing Luna to climb onto his back and hold her brother close. Step by slow step, he carried them through the water until they reached the porch, where it was dry and safe. Arif opened the door, surprised to see Milo standing in the rain with two tiny shivering lives clinging to him. He quickly brought a towel, dried them, and placed a little box lined with cloth near the kitchen so they could rest through the storm. There was no fear, no anger, no shouting, only calm voices and gentle hands. Luna looked at Milo, her eyes full of quiet wonder, and realized something true and deep. Kindness grows when it is shared. That night, while thunder rolled softly in the distance, the family sat together and watched Milo rest near the box where Luna and her brother slept. Arif's father whispered that perhaps the world becomes kinder when we stop seeing everything as enemies and start seeing them as lives. Even the grandmother, who once disliked all small animals, left tiny crumbs near the door before going to sleep. The rain finally slowed. The sky cleared, and morning came with a soft, golden light. Luna returned to the garden stronger, braver, and no longer afraid of the house. Milo walked beside her, not as a hunter and not as a guard, but as a true friend. The garden became a place where different hearts lived side by side, learning every day that respect, patience, and care make the world feel larger and warmer. As the sun rose higher, Milo lay on the porch. Luna sat near the flowers, and the air felt peaceful. There was no drama, no chasing, no fear, only the quiet truth that kindness can change everything when someone chooses it first. And so the story settles gently, like soft rain stopping on the leaves, leaving the world calm and bright when kindness came back again. Many months passed, and the seasons changed quietly around the little house. The trees grew new leaves, the garden filled with flowers, and the air felt lighter. Milo had grown calmer and wiser, and Luna had become stronger, faster, and more confident. Her brother played near the fence each day, learning how to move safely and stay close to home. Everything felt peaceful, like a soft song that never stopped. One bright afternoon, children from the neighborhood came to visit Arif. They played in the yard, laughing, running, and chasing each other. One little girl carried a small basket of seeds to feed the birds, but she tripped and spilled the basket near the fence. All at once, birds, squirrels, and small animals rushed in happily. It looked chaotic, but it was harmless. Then, from the corner of the yard, a stray cat appeared, thin, tired, and clearly hungry. His eyes were sharp with fear, and his body was trembling. He hissed at everyone, ready to fight for food. In the past, Milo might have hissed back, but something inside him had changed. He walked slowly toward the frightened stray cat, not with anger, but with quiet patience. He didn't crowd him. He didn't threaten him. He simply sat a few steps away and blinked, showing peace the way cats do. Luna watched carefully from the flowers, ready to run if needed, but she noticed something important. Milo was doing for this stranger what he once did for her. Arif saw the stray cat too. Instead of shouting or chasing it away, he calmly placed a small bowl of food outside the fence and stepped back. The stray cat sniffed, unsure at first, then finally began to eat, breathing slower with every bite. His body relaxed. The tension faded. Nobody attacked. Nobody was hurt. Later that evening, Luna came closer, staying low and respectful. The stray looked up at her, confused, as if waiting for anger. Instead, she simply nodded her head and shared a quiet space with him. For the first time, he realized this place was different. Here, kindness lived first. Over the next days, the stray cat returned again and again, not as an enemy, but as someone learning how to be gentle. Milo watched over him, patient and calm, like a teacher who remembers what it feels like to be lost. Luna sometimes brought small seeds and crumbs she found, placing them near the fence. Little by little, fear melted into trust. One evening, as the sky turned orange and pink, Arif sat beside Milo on the porch. He stroked his fur softly and whispered, "You changed this place, my friend. You taught us something big without saying a single word." Milo purred quietly, eyes half closed, feeling the warm peace around him. Luna rested near the flowers, her brother chasing fireflies in the fading light. The stray cat curled safely near the fence, no longer shaking, no longer angry. The yard had become more than a yard. It was a small world built on patience, respect, and the brave choice to care. And as night slowly wrapped itself around everything, it felt clear and true. Kindness does not end when the moment passes. It travels, it returns, and it keeps growing wherever hearts allow it. The wind softened, the stars appeared, and the story settled into silence. Calm, warm, and complete the day everyone understood. Time kept moving, and the little house became known in the neighborhood as the quiet place where animals felt safe. Birds sang louder in the morning. Butterflies rested on flowers without fear. Sometimes children stopped by just to watch Milo sleep in the sun and Luna explore near the fence. Nothing dramatic happened, yet everything felt special. One warm evening, a new family moved into the house next door. They had a young boy named Sami who was afraid of animals. He believed cats scratched, rats bit, and birds made messes. So when he saw Milo walking across the yard, his heart jumped and he ran behind his mother, shouting that the cat would hurt someone. Arif heard him and smiled gently. Instead of arguing, he invited Sami to sit on the porch and simply watch. They waited. Milo walked slowly, calm and relaxed. Luna appeared near the flowers, carrying a tiny piece of bread she had found. The stray cat curled near the fence, peaceful and quiet. Nothing scary happened. Everything moved softly, like a quiet movie about care. Then something surprising happened. A little bird tried to land on the feeder but slipped and fluttered to the ground. Sami gasped, thinking Milo would attack. But Milo did not move fast. He walked carefully, sniffed the frightened bird, and sat beside it, blocking the wind so it could catch its breath. When the bird finally flew away, Sami blinked in shock. "He helped," he whispered. Arif nodded. Sometimes animals do what people expect, and sometimes they do what is kind. Later, Luna and her brother came closer, curious but gentle. Sami watched their small bodies, their careful steps, and realized they were not monsters. They were just tiny lives trying to survive. Little by little, his fear softened into respect. Days passed, and Sami began leaving crumbs near the fence with Arif. He sat quietly, learning patience. He watched how Milo waited his turn, how Luna shared with her brother, how the stray cat no longer hissed because nobody frightened him anymore. For the first time, Sami felt something new, a quiet love for creatures he once feared. One evening, as the sky turned purple and the crickets began to sing, Sami sat beside Arif and said, "Maybe kindness is like a circle. When one heart starts, another heart follows. Arif smiled, and Milo purred softly as if he agreed. Luna lifted her tiny face toward the stars. The stray cat stretched beside the fence, and the garden glowed with a peaceful calm that felt almost like a promise. A promise that gentle choices can change even the smallest corners of the world. And so the story slows, like the day fading into night, and everything rests quietly. There is no loud ending, no big noise, only the soft truth that kindness grows wherever it is given. Soft closing, slow breath. The world feels warm, and the story sleeps the gift that stayed forever. As time went on, the yard felt less like just a place, and more like a small family made from many different hearts. The trees grew taller, the flowers opened wider, and the evenings became moments that everyone quietly looked forward to. Milo grew older and slower, but he carried a deep calm inside him, the calm of someone who has seen fear turn into trust many times. Luna also changed. She was no longer the scared little rat hiding behind cabinets. She had become patient, thoughtful, and gentle, always making sure her brother and others were safe. One afternoon, Arif brought home a small book from school about kindness. The teacher had asked every child to write about someone who showed courage without using force. While other students wrote about superheroes, Arif wrote about Milo and Luna. He wrote about the night the rat was saved, the day the trap was removed, the storm on the porch, and the stray cat who learned peace. He wrote about quiet bravery, the kind that doesn't need loud voices or sharp claws. When he finished, he read the story aloud to his class. The room fell silent, and even his teacher wiped a tear from her eye. That evening, Arif sat on the steps, thinking about how many lives had changed because one cat simply chose not to harm, and one tiny rat chose to trust. Milo curled beside him, purring softly. Luna rested near the flowers, watching the sunset. Her brother chased shadows happily around the garden. The stray cat slept peacefully by the fence, no longer hungry, no longer angry, simply content. Not long after, more neighbors began leaving little bowls of water outside their homes and teaching their children to step carefully in gardens. They didn't call it a rule. They simply called it respect. And somehow, slowly, the whole street began to feel quieter, softer, and kinder. One night, as the stars appeared again, Luna looked toward Milo and felt a warm memory rise. She remembered the first crumb, the first slow blink, the first moment when fear turned into hope. She knew that life might still be hard sometimes. Storms might still come. But she also knew something stronger: kindness leaves marks that do not fade. Milo closed his eyes, listening to the night, and it almost felt like he was smiling inside. The house, the garden, the street, and every small life around them were now touched by something gentle and true. Caring does not make us weak. It makes the world safer. And so, as the quiet night wrapped everything in calm, the story did not burst into an ending. It simply softened like a warm light staying on in a safe room. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, only peace. Soft closing, slow breath. The story continues quietly in every heart that chooses kindness.